This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Yeah, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason, what's going on? What do you have on tap for us tonight?
Okay, hey, John, it's like I have on tap the first in a graphic novel trilogy by a couple of creators that I really like. That would be Marjorie Liu and Sun Takeda, the creators behind Monstress, like a series that longtime readers will know that hey, like I picked this as my second favorite series of last year because after I went and reread it, in anticipation of volume 6, it's like man, it's pretty goddamn fantastic. So after rereading it, it's like I like I it's like I got I got into volume 6, loved it. It's like, and then when I heard that they're doing their own series of graphic novels, like to you know to build off the success of that series. Like I thought, hey, like this is gonna be great. I'm gonna read this. It's like, and I want to talk about this because it's gonna be fantastic. And in fact, I even wanted to make this like a groundbreaking portion of our podcast because I haven't actually had any women talk about this talk talk on this podcast for a good long time. So no, not good long time, like ever. So it's like here I wanted to get like a good friend of mine to get her opinion on this. And so hey, Christine, how you doing?
Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm good. It's like like did so I guess just to get the ball rolling on this. Did you like this? It's like did I get you involved in a series that you thoroughly hated, or just like didn't want to say anything good about, or did you actually liked?
Dude, Jason, this was amazing. It's funny. I'm gonna banter you here a bit because I think
Go for it.
I've always wanted to be on a podcast, like anything, because I like listening to podcasts. And I was like drunk one night, and I was like, oh, Chase has a podcast. Let me annoy him. And you were setting something up for me, and I was very kind. And you're like, here's a comic, read it. And I was also, I think, maybe drunk again. And I was like,
No, I know the feeling. It's like, oh, please go on.
and I was like, I don't want to review some white man shit. Like, give me some Jason. Give me something diverse here.
I think your words are like find like a concrete by women. It's like yeah, I
Yes,
can do that. Like I thought I was like maybe this will have to be like something about some manga series, but no, I managed to find like a like an English series created by two women, like one who is of Chinese descent and one who is of Japanese descent. But go on.
yes. It's you know what, and I'm glad I bantered you because this was a perfect pick for me, and it was amazing. I loved it a lot, and especially the connection with two Asian American women, one of them Chinese descent, but also it's not just a story about like, oh, here about like Asian stuff. It's actually, lived experience of an Asian family without the additional like, oh, they're very Asian, right? And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, because like I mean, like when I was reading this, like I thought, like, hey, it's like okay, like the mother at the heart of the story, like she seems very strict and severe, like and very Tiger Mom-ish, but like that's my white person opinion, like talking here. But the Night Eaters like is basically like this first volume, like She Eats a Night, like I thought I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. Like it's basically like a very solid story with heart about these 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 Chinese American kids, Millie and Billy, who've managed to like create their own like successful business. Spam I am. It's like a like an onigiri restaurant in New York, and like they're doing their own thing, but you get after we've seen their mother and their father, like mother Ipo and father Kion, it's like you get the feeling like they think they could be doing better for themselves, and at the same time, like hey, it turns out that the plot plot of land across from they live, it's kind of really haunted, like really fucking haunted. It's like evil. It's like and diseased, and like apparently there's gonna be some kind of like it's like, hey, we're gonna actually do some kind of serious exorcism on this.
well, that happens, right?
Yeah, it's like in fact we get to see like Ipo just just turning a million Billy loose on this in the hope that they'll actually we think initially that that this is like her just saying hey like she's going she's just trying to make them like get in touch with their roots and all, but it turns out that it's more serious than that because it's like E- Ipo comes across as like the very serious like proprietor of Chinese descent. Well, it turns out Jake, it's actually like a lot more literal than that because like she's like some kind of like drag. It's like dragon lady. Like no, sorry, not tiger mom. It's like dragon lady who like actually has like like some ideas about what her son and daughter like should do. It's like and that's and on one hand it's kind of like to the uninitiated, it's kind of messed up. But like once you get to the end, it's kind of like, oh, it's like I get it now. It's like she's just just like trying to make sure her kids are just are worthy of their legacy and all, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because even though you see the cover and it's like, oh, really dark and scary and it's horror
Mm-hmm.
and the art's is
So much blood.
beautiful, but when you start, it actually is pretty. It starts out as very like comedy elements, right? It's kind of like
Yes.
life, slice of life almost, and like you said, that Tiger Mom vibes, right? And I could really relate to it in a lot. It's done very tastefully. And it's funny because it's the whole like, oh, playing to tropes, but tastefully, right? Like this, the
Mm-hmm.
daughter is, oh, I went to mid school, but I didn't want to go, I dropped out, and she's kind of sleeping around, and it's funny you mentioned the Spam I Am because that's also kind of a playful nod to they're in New York now. It's an
Mm-hmm.
onigiri shop, but there's still Musubi, right? There's a little callback to they landed in Hawaii at first, right? And it's also kind of a nod to the family being, oh, we want to go to a place where we can blend in. Hawaii is lots of Asians, and then also later New York and Queens area, which is also, as you noticed, even the real estate agent is family friends, and they're
Mm-hmm.
showing places. It kind of gives that vibe. There's really good mix of all of that. But yeah,
He's yelling at the mom saying, "Yeah, guy, why can't you?" It's like I want to sell this place. Why can't you help me out?
So yeah, there's definitely that like family favor nods. But like I said, with the comedy element where it starts out, you see the cover, it's like, oh wow, scary, and there's a build up to it, right? Even the mom's backstory, is pretty light at first, and it starts to really pick up. 2/3 of the way, like boom, you see with all the demon, the exorcism stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But even it's funny because the backstory of the mom is also kind of tastefully done, like, oh, it's back in Hong Kong, and you get this great moment of the British sailors, right, coming in and trying to hit on the mom and
Yeah.
the daughter, not the daughter, the her
Her
friend,
friend.
and a guy comes in and just like beats them all up, and it was a great show of like, no,
Okay, so
um
I got to ask. Do you think the guy who helped to beat up the British soldiers? Do you think that was Bruce Lee? Because it seems.
it was definitely like a Bruce Lee stand-in, right? That was funny. But it's funny because it's also, if you think about it, first she arrives when she's in Hong Kong. She arrives in Hong Kong, and you don't actually know the story of, is she actually from Hong Kong? But she arrives in Hong Kong, right,
Mm-hmm.
at a boarding house, and the whatever you call the head of the head mistress or whatever, the boarding house is like, oh, setting the rules, and she's like, oh, why are you here? And like, oh, you're a model, I think you can make it, and you get the setup where like, oh, she's here to be a beautiful Hong Kong actress. Like, no, she's actually a stunt woman, and it's like, wow, she's pretty strong. And then you get this payoff later, like she's a motherfucking demon,
Yeah, because I mean, not to give too much away, but it's like the the core like the main like direction of the series like halfway through is like when like is that Millie and Billy, like like they're basically tasked with finding out just what's going on with this crazy house across the street. Like is it it's like like yeah, it's a murder house, but what's going on here? It's like, and as it left to it's left to their mother and dad, like for them for like to have their kids figure out just what's going on here. It's like, and when they do, it's like, well, it's like like things get crazy. It's like like there's a whole like evil demon dolls like business, and there's a whole evil demon anus business as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not giving necessarily too much away. You look at the cover, and it shows the mom, in her
Like
smoking, and
smoking with
blood, and there's blood. There's something going on here, right? But I think
Mhm.
the other thing, especially from my background perspective, is that like, as I say, there are a bunch of Asian American comics that are a lot about like the Asian American experience, like generational trauma and
Mhm.
immigration, and this is more of like horror comedy, but it's funny because looking from my perspective, it's like, okay, she's trying to actually prevent the generational trauma, right? From like, okay, demons and bad stuff. But she still elicits it. She still cannot help that she's a tiger mom. She is harsh. She doesn't show her
Mhm.
emotions. She is awful. And the smooth side is the father, right? The father is the jokey, really caring, loving guy, and the mom's like the hard ass.
Yeah, even then, like the dad is just kind of like he's also kind of just like not also like kind of keen to like letting them experience like the hard stuff on their own level on their own way as well. Because it's like when you find out just what's actually going on with this house, it's like he's just kind of like yeah, it's like I'm just gonna let you guys like experience things on your own terms, but also like he's just gonna step in when things get like too harsh because he's the good dad.
Yeah, there's definitely like a good cop, bad cop,
Hmm.
portrayal here, and it's funny because there's the quote, it's from the mom. It's like, "Oh, you were too soft," right? But it's funny because now it's like both the balance of like, I've heard that too. Like, I'm born American, had a comfy life, right? It's like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of immigrations are like fleeing war and all this stuff, and now the kids are in American, like just being soft. And but this is a puts it to a kicks it up to a next level softness, right?
Yeah, it's like
And
when the dad says like hey, I was like raised in like a dirt hole. It's like you think that oh man, like that's rough, but then when you like as the story goes on, you realize like oh well, this is what the dad is like. Oh, I get it now.
yeah, there's some interesting reveals for sure. And I maybe this is going too far ahead, but it's like, wow, what a cutoff, right? Like I said, it was like a real good build up, a really good soft, like 2/3 of the 70% of the way setting up, and then boom, the other 30% like really gets in the action. Like, well, see you next fall, 2023.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's like it's basically like the old the brother sorry Billy basically says that hey, it's like what if we like explore like other like houses and just like exercise them using our demon blood and all. I mean, yeah, that I think that's like a solid setup for like for a series. I mean, like, the series has been established as like they're saying it's going to be like a graphic novel trilogy, but at the same time, like I do kind of want to see more of this, especially if like it's going to be like more of Millie and Billy, because I think that like sure like the story kind of acknowledges them, they're kind of like screw ups in their own way, but they're likable screw ups that I want to see more of and what they want to do. It's like I want to see if if Millie like like finally like gets her own guy as opposed to like Jamie who was like the side she's basically his side piece.
Yes, yes. And that's the thing. The characters are very likable, right? All
Yeah.
of them are pretty compelling. To even, I think right now the mystery is the dad. Actually, we don't get actually much backstory. It's all of a sudden, reveals about the mom, and all of a sudden, she meets charming, super kind man. I mean, I'm actually wondering if he turns out to be the worst of them all. Like that's a common setup, right? Like you're the
That's a
kind,
good point. That's a good
unassuming.
point right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I mean, like I do want to know more about these, and at this point, like I think that yeah, like like the fact that they've established this as like a graphic novel trilogy, it's like I do want to know more about this, about these characters as they go on. I mean, like volume two is probably going to be, I can see it just being more about like Millie and Billy just doing like their maybe going on to like being their like their exorcist business and all. It's like online on YouTube exercising shit online. It's gonna be great. And then
You
like
know,
until it's not, and then like it's like we go full Empire Strikes Back, and like they end on like a bad note where like both mama and dad are screwed, and then the kids are gonna have to like save them and all. But it's like I like but it's like this. I think this first volume has a lot of heart. It's like, and I do want to know more about where where things go from here. It's like, and speaking as someone who's like a fan of like Lou and Takeda's like series Monstress, it's like this is really a lot different from that because well that series is has a lot of like like formality to its to its fantasy elements. This one is just very modern, very frank, very casual. Like, and it's really it's really interesting. Like, and also I will admit that like all the like like the formality, like the casual slang and all. It's like hey, I am an old person. It's like who looks at this and goes like, hey, it's like shit. I'm having Asian guilt PSD. I need to call my parents. Like I look and they go, yeah, that makes sense. I can do that. So yeah, it's like this. I was kind of impressed that like they pulled this off as well as it did. It's like, and also just looking at this, I will say that much as I like it, I do think that the art in Monstress is like is of better quality, surprisingly, because just like well, I think that Takeda's art is really solid here. It's like she does like a good job like having like the detail in the backgrounds. It's like and the emotion of the characters. Like Monstrous just like has just more like overall more solid detail like and more solid world building overall. I mean this is a series like on the Night Eaters like establishes like this like rural New York vibe pretty well. Monstrous like establishes its like fantasy science fiction vibe shockingly well. So yeah, it's like I think that like it's what's good is what's here is good, but also at the same time, I'm kind of impressed that that they were able to like put out like this whole other graphic novel while also doing an ongoing like a monthly series like at the same time. I mean, it's I don't think like I said I don't think the art is quite as good, but it's like it's kind of an academic distinction as far as I'm concerned. Because I think that the it's overall it's like what's here is pretty expressive and it's like and impressive as well.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I have not read Monstrous yet. And Jason, I did not find a copy. I don't know if you actually gave it to me, and
I
either.
did give you according to my Amazon history. It's like
So I will have to dig it out, and if I can't find it, I'll buy it again because now I'm hooked. Like, right, and I already found without having read Monstrous, I found the art kind of really captivating, and I cannot wait to dig into Monsters. You're like, oh, the art card is even better, you know. I have to add to that, about the being able to produce a monthly and this at the same time that I haven't mentioned yet is that they are in a pandemic world as we have been as
mm-hmm.
well. And that is something I thought they did very tastefully. And it was kind of funny in terms of how they handled it. And it makes me wonder like, this was probably their pandemic project, right?
Yeah, I don't doubt that because like in the context of the like of this graphic novel, it's like like Millie and Billy, they're all about the face mask. Mother, not so much, but that comes off as like something that is like of a piece of this world. Like it makes sense.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because she's at the beginning you're like, oh, she's a defying tiger mom, right? But then
Yeah.
at the end of the reveal, like I don't know if demons have immunocompromised systems.
hmm No, I get it, and it's like I think that it's like even though it's like I guess coming from like a fan like someone who's a fan of monsters, I was kind of expecting them to like do the whole like big serious fantasy vibe, like with this graphic novel. It's like no, this is actually like, kind of like really kind of silly and emotional, but in like a in a way that actually makes sense. Like when because when like mom like gives the evil eye to the demons at the core of this story, it's like like that was new. That was something that's something I wasn't expecting. It's like and it was kind of fun as well. And I like the idea that maybe we'll get like a second volume where like the kids are just like exercising shit like online for YouTube, like for the views. It's like and I mean, imagine like that's probably where they're going to go, but we're also going to get like the oh no, this is bad.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
hmm
It's funny you mentioned YouTube because there was a call out to like, oh, Yelp doesn't matter. We gotta have an
hmm
Instagram for the store,
yeah,
right? So there's definitely a little bit of that generational gap. But yeah, I think of it as this is more manga-ish, right? The expressions, what's
hmm
happening. The son is an avid gamer,
yes.
so it's definitely more approachable at that accessible, I should say, at that angle as well.
Yeah, it's like it's. I think that this first volume is like it's definitely like as accessible as you said. It's like for everyone who doesn't want to, who isn't already a fan of Monstress or of Lou and Takeda's other works. It's like you can just like grab this. It's like and pick it up and enjoy it. I think that the only maybe like issue with it is that it's a big old $25 hardcover, and it's like I said before, hey, it's like this is like if you're putting in something in hardcover, it's like it's basically like it's like making it just kind of like a little bit less accessible to like to everyone. It's like I think this maybe if you like sold this like a 15 or like $20 like soft cover, this would be perfect. But at the same time, I think that like I have no regrets about paying $25 for this or $25 from Amazon like as far like to enjoy this like as is.
Yeah, but is there not going to be a soft cover release later?
There probably will be.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think.
maybe like about a year down the line, like after like once volume 2 comes out. But that's I'm speaking from like experience about how these things usually go. When like that actually happens, well, ask me next October.
Mm.
Okay, so I guess Christine, like you basically like feel confident recommending this to just about like all your friends, right?
I've already started recommending this to a few friends. I think especially to a bunch of my Asian American, girlfriends. Well, specifically Chinese American was like, "Oh, check this out." And one of them actually was like, "Oh, I read Monstress already." So it's like, "Oh, cool." Right? And one of them, was like, "Oh, awesome, put in my list." And even my, my fellow white bread, friends
Yeah.
that are into comics, I think they enjoy because like I said, it has those little manga callbacks, right? There's that touch of I feel the whole like the Chinese American, Asian American elements are kind of like a bonus, right? For readers like me, like, oh, we get it. She understands it. Like they both have those lived experiences and like we get it, but it's not to the point where it's like it alienates anyone else. Right. And
Yeah,
that's the thing I fucking enjoy the most because there should be more of this. Like there should be more of this type of representation, but also, I have to say, you know, Marjorie, like she's a successful comics writer, but it's funny because it's still her background is still very Asian, right? She still
hmm
was a lawyer. She was a lawyer
yeah.
because she's like, fuck this, I'll do comics. It makes me think of it makes me think of like Jeremy Lin, right? He was fucking at Stanford. He was like, I want to play basketball. Right? It's like, how Asian? Like, I wish we could get away from this where they have to be like working.
hmm
There's call like she probably had it might not be a tiger of a hard ass mom, but she definitely has experience of like, oh, I got to be professional. I got to be super financially successful or whatever before I can pursue my creative pursuits, right? And I hope this paves a way where that's not always the case. But I just thought that was a funny thing.
Yes, I have to admit this. After reading this, I thought like, hey, wow! It's like this is so lucky that I got Christine to comment on this. So so like yeah, like I mean, it's like I'm glad to have your perspective on this as a general person, but like, hey, it's like like the fact you got this Chinese background. I mean, that's even better.
You know what? I'm gonna be back because I mean I love graphic novels in general, and whether it be from someone a writer from my background or not, like it's just got me hooked again, right? And this was a really good way. I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome, But it's also great, I think, reading um her background, like she was the first, woman of color to win Eisner for best writer. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I was like, while you're here, I was gonna ask, like, have you read any of her X-Men stuff? Is that good as well?
Oh, it's like I think I read a little bit of X-23. It's like back in the day, but I think I really just jumped on on her boat with Monstress because like that was like like her and Takeda. I think basically like this is how things go. Like basically like, creators like do good work like at Marvel or DC, and then they jump over to like Image or Imager Boom to like do like create our own work. And it's like I didn't really read a lot of their stuff like while like either of their works at Marvel. It's like until like I started reading Monstress. It's like, and Monstress was great. I mean, like Monstress, like this is a series that like I should be rereading every time I get a new volume, but I did reread every volume ahead of their next volume last year, and it's like, oh my god, it's like it's like this is like just really great, like impressive world building with this series. And so like when it was announced, oh my god, they're doing their own like original graphic novel series. I am on this, man. This is where we are right now. So yeah, it's like it's like no, I haven't read as much as their X-Men stuff as I should, but like this is the case where I probably should just like log on to like Marvel Unlimited and maybe just read what Marjorie Liu did, like for X-Men in addition to X-23. But I guess this is something that I guess if you wanted like to come back for the next time, Christine, we could talk about Marjorie Liu's X-Men stuff, both for X-23, which is female clone of Wolverine, which is cool because she's fantastic, and also the fact when her run on Astonishing X-Men, where she married the first gay
yes,
X-Men couple.
yes, the Glad gave her an award for
Yes.
that, and I was like, yes. Well, you know
Yeah,
how I feel about
Northstar and his
gay
husband.
dramas, so
Yeah. So I mean, it's like if you want to come back and talk about that, I mean, I've got like my subscription to like Marvel Unlimited. I can totally like just jump onto that anytime. But at the same time, like, hey, it's like I love talking about this particular series. But if you've got any like other series you want to talk about, it's like I am on board with that as well.
Like I said, I'm back on the graphic novel train. It doesn't have to necessarily be hers. It could be anything. I read a lot of white man stuff too. That's the majority of it. That's a joke, but yeah. So thank you for having me and having me read this and get inspired and talk about this. And
oh, thank you for being like the first woman who was like guested on this podcast in like 14 years.
First woman of color. I'm gonna just tick all the boxes.
First woman, period. First woman of color. First woman, period.
You know what? I'm just gonna fill all the diversity check boxes right now.
No. It's like I wouldn't have brought you on. Like I thought if I was just filling a diversity checkpoint.
Yeah. Now, right now, I'm just clicking add to cart because this sounds really good, actually, and Amazon does have a little bit of a preview, and I'm looking at some of the art. It's outstanding, actually.
Yeah. I mean, Takeda is fantastic. I mean, it's like it's like I say that maybe she's not quite as good as like what she delivers in Monstress, but I mean, like that's just kind of like it's like it's still fantastic. It's still really worth checking out.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, cool. So, do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Okay, well, I think I'm going to talk about just maybe male concepts like about war. It's like in fighting. It's like in British war comics. It's like for Garth Ennis's battle action one shot. But hey, that's just like tentative right now. So hey, but I guess like Christine, you got any thoughts about what I want to talk about next time? Then hey, like whatever you speak up now. It's like or just after we're done here.
Yeah, let me get drunk again, and I'll be like,
right.
Jason, I want to be on this show.
All right.
Sounds like a plan. Cool. All right. Well, we'll catch you guys next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
Laters.